Welcome to the Real Academy, brought to you each Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by
the Resilience DoctHers,
Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor, best-selling authors, consultants, and speakers of Create and Educate LLC. Create and Educate LLC is an educational consultant and literary firm that provides professional development to schools and community. Their goal is to transform organizations with the REALL resilient framework used to increase their school report card grades 2 and 3 grade levels in 1 year. REALL stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. This framework is used to coach leaders and teachers and build student efficacy while putting systems in place that aligns the work of the school improvement, making the process manageable. When the work is manageable, teachers and leaders don't stress out or burn out.
The Resilience DoctHers.
Alignment systems are designed to help schools evolve and grow, all while instituting protocols and processes designed to promote collaboration and collegiality. The implementation of the alignment framework prevents some of the most common problems in education, where leaders sometimes aren't sure where to start, or in our new age of educating, leaders need a trusted sounding board that allows them to be vulnerable and transparent, preventing loneliness at the top. The framework doesn't just help leaders, but also prevents teachers from burning out from too many initiatives and embracing teachers as they are the experts. Finally, the framework extends to the children, helping them get engaged in school and solving a nationwide problem. Alignment systems are frequently referred to as a key element of success in the improvement process. In the sport of rowing, all rowers must put their oars in the water, succinctly creating a system for their boat to reach maximum speed. So schools that want to improve are bringing in
the Resilience DoctHers
to teach them all about the alignment systems that must be in place for school improvement to be accomplished at high levels. The dynamic duo provides insights into educational topics through their international platform, which includes educators, parents, and community members as a way to support important entities that make communities thrive. This is their way to pay it forward and provide the support they needed through their platform. Take a look. People who work with
the Resilience
describe them as an
DoctHers.
excellent and inspiring group of leaders. They get into the weeds of work with leaders through their TrustMate Institute that you should contact them about today by filling out the contact form on their website.
It's Super Saturday. It's saying my mic is muted, but I hope y'all can hear me. It's Super Saturday, everyone. Welcome to episode 249 of the Real Academy, brought to you by Create and Educate with your very own Resilience DoctHers. I'm Dr. Sheikah Houston.
Good morning, everyone, and I'm Dr. Tammy Taylor, and we are so excited to continue helping the schools build stronger systems, stronger relationships, and stronger communication.
Absolutely. And you have to excuse us having technical difficulties this morning. My computer would not work, so I'm on my phone. I'm using my daughter's phone, and her phone is on 3%. So now I'm trying to plug it up. But if you're
And it's storming up here,
wondering,
Sheikah. So I think my computer is going in and out. So we are
oh my
really
gosh,
struggling this morning.
really? So if this is your first time tuning in, you may be wondering, well, who are the Resilience DoctHers?
And we are very glad that you asked. We are best-selling authors, children's book authors, award-winning educators and speakers who transformed our schools after improving our report card ratings 2 and 3 levels in just a year.
Absolutely. And after we raised our report cards 2 and 3 levels in 1 year with our amazing staff members, that led to the development of the REAL framework that you see at the top of the pane and over Tammy's shoulder because I don't even have my background up this morning. And REAL, the acronym REAL, stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. And as senior staff developers for Create and Educate, we know that school transformation it's a daunting task. We like to start off that process with a unique through a unique approach through our synergy lab where we're helping teams determine their self-awareness, so their personality traits that contribute to the team, but also what that means amongst the team. So that's a first step in our process as we begin that unique approach. We determine, help people figure out those communication styles, those emotional triggers, the leadership approach, different expectations, and different ways to respond to stress and conflict. So when leaders don't understand how people show up, the communication breaks down, morale drops, systems struggle, and this is where the Synergy Lab can help schools strengthen collaboration, improve communication, reduce conflict, increase engagement, and build those stronger relationships amongst staff members, improving that climate and culture and aligning people to the systems that actually work that will bring about the change that we also experienced in our schools.
Yes, for sure. And if you aren't able to bring us in, then keep tuning in to the Real Academy on Saturday mornings, where we are grateful to say that we've been able to impact over 300,000 educators and over 7 million students, all through free Fantastic Four PD. And that starts off each Saturday morning that has been deemed as Super Saturday by Principal Kafele at 10 a.m. with Principal Sean Hurt, who is our big brother in this work and was on this morning. Um, we will go back and hear you, Principal Hurt, because we have been scurrying around trying to figure out how to get this going this morning. But I know that you were bringing fire as you always do. And then at 10:30 in the Real Academy is yours truly, Create and Educate with Sheikah and I. Um, we are followed at 11 a.m. by the GOAT, the leader's mentor, the leaders, all things leadership, Principal Kafele in the AP and New Principals Academy. And then on Sunday evening, we round out with the PGP podcast with Dr. Marty Moreno and Principal Josh Tovar.
Absolutely. So please like, share, subscribe, send the stars, do all of the things that the platforms do that will help us to get the word out. Don't keep us all to yourself. This message needs to get to the people that need it, and it also helps those algorithms. So, Tammy, I can't see any of the comments.
I got it.
Okay. So now it is time. We would normally do announcements and shout outs, but because we are running behind, we were supposed to be pre-recorded for an event that we're going to be late for. So we are going to get right into our topic today, and that brings us to our episode topic for today, for episode 249, and that is when communication breaks down, restoring trust in schools. And this is still a part of the season 5 that we have been working on. And
Yes.
this conversation, I'm sorry, Tammy.
No, go
This
ahead. I was going to say,
conversation,
Chica, hold
go
on one
ahead.
second. Our
Okay.
comments are coming up, and even though we're not shouting out, our comments are coming up. They seem to be delayed, Chica, so I didn't want that to throw you off.
Oh, no, it's not delayed. I mean, it's
Okay,
not throwing me off the comment.
I got you. Okay.
Okay. So today's conversation is one that impacts every school because most problems in schools are not just behavior problems. Many of them are those communication problems that I even talked about that our Synergy Lab helps out with.
Yeah, and communication really sets the emotional tone for the school that creates how leaders communicate with one another, first of all, but also with the staff, students, and parents, how teachers communicate with leadership, with each other, with staff, students, and parents, and then how students communicate again with all of those groups because having strong communication, as Shika said, is essential to having an effectively running system in your school.
Absolutely. And a lot of places that we're starting that process with to try to help, that is usually the number one complaint from teachers and sometimes even parents. There's no communication around here. Nobody knows what's going on. Things just come about that we're not aware of. So when communication is unclear, inconsistent, or emotionally reactive. That means you just responding to things, putting out fires, and the only time you communicating is when something is happening. That trust starts to break down. And once trust breaks down, systems begin to struggle. So, and our next point where people hear through their experiences. And so you have to understand that people, you may say one thing, but people hear based upon what their life experiences are and what their background knowledge is, or even if they're in a place to receive what you're saying. So, one of the biggest mistakes that leaders make is assuming that everyone hears messages the same way. And then
Mhm.
people process communication multiple ways through their experiences, through their trauma, generational perspectives, emotional triggers, and personality styles.
Yes, that's why the same message can motivate one person and completely frustrate another person. We can hear the same exact message from someone and leave with different perspectives. Many school conflicts are actually fueled by assumptions that come from communication that was either misinterpreted or interpreted correctly sometimes, but those assumptions fuel the conflicts that we have to navigate in our schools. We thought they knew. I mean, we assumed they understood. I
Exactly.
I assumed they were being disrespectful when he said blank. That sounded like disrespect to me, but again, not on the same page because we do not have an effective communication system in place.
Absolutely, Tammy. And this even happens, I've seen it happen with teachers and students, where a student will say, a teacher will send a student up for being disrespectful, but the student would say, oh, but she got in my face. Or and so, things can spark other things to happen. And so when you have to make sure that your communication is something that somebody's going to be able to receive, and that is not culturally inappropriate as well. I know sometimes that eye contact can be one that is culturally triggering to some people. So clarity definitely reduces conflict, and the more assumptions increase, the more confusion increases. So when we align communication to the real framework, and then we do this alignment every week, we start off with respect. That means speaking with dignity and listening intentionally. So, again, you're not coming from a place where you're trying to degrade people, you're trying to demean people. Even from a leadership standpoint, leadership has no place for elitism where you feel like, oh, we've talked about that George Jefferson syndrome where you're walking
Mhm.
around with your arms swinging behind your back and you big stuff. You have to talk to people with dignity no matter who you are. And the way that you do that, to me, proves whether or not you're an effective leader. Because the only way for you to communicate your message to people is to demean and degrade people, you're not a leader at all. You're a bully. And that is not needed in leadership from leaders or in the classroom either. And I've had to have those conversations before with multiple people. And the next part of our framework, excellence, communicating clearly and professionally. And this is something that I've had to work on myself because sometimes when you're saying things so many times to people, you start to wonder, now, I didn't said this already. How are they not getting it? And you start to talk slower, and because you feel like you need more time to process. But sometimes, again, like we've said before, you may not have said it in a way where they understood it based upon their experiences. You don't know what their experiences were at their other schools. So a good thing for me to do was tell me what you heard. What did you hear that I said? And then sometimes you could go better from there. The next part of our framework is accountability, and this is that follow through with consistency. Literacy is ensuring that there's understanding, not just in the delivery, but in the hearing. Like I said, do the say back. So what did you hear that I said? Because when they say it back, that's how you know whether or not it was actually understood the way that you meant for it to be. And then leadership is that just creating that emotional, safe conversation where people aren't afraid to come to you to ask questions because they feel like you're going to chew them out or jump down their throats. Or I had to stop saying stuff like, y'all can't even work your way out of a brown paper bag. Those are the types of things that you cannot say to people,
Yes,
and just make
and I
sure they
had to help
understand.
her with this, y'all. Let me get a crayon so I can draw it for you. No, no, Shika, we do not talk to people like
Right, exactly. I had to work on it.
this. We're so excited that Shika has made progress in that area because it
I
was
have.
very interesting to watch and hear her with where are my crayons so I can draw this out for y'all to be able to understand
Well,
clearly.
visuals do help people, but I just had to say that better.
She is hilarious. But we know that healthy communication actually creates healthy systems, and that's a part of what we want to leave you with today because trust doesn't come from a speech, y'all. We talked about that before. It's not your beginning of the year speech or your end of the year send people home speech that creates trust. Trust actually comes from clarity, from consistency, through transparency, and honestly through emotional awareness. You have to be able to pick up on how a person feels when you say to them, let me say this slower,
Right.
and you see the individual deflate right before you. You have to have communication, as Sheikah said before, that does not demean or demoralize people, but provides them with the clarity that they may need. And that can look very differently from classroom to classroom because people need different things from us.
Absolutely. And we realize, like Josh talks about Mr. and Miss Potato Plant. Now, Mr. and Miss Potato Plant gonna always act like they ain't heard what you said because they want to do what they want to do. But you still
Or
even
they're
have to
confused.
have.
They're the ones who are confused about everything.
Exactly. We know that you have some of those. And there is a certain way that you have to approach those people privately as well. So leaders restore trust when communication becomes predictable, respectful, and emotionally intelligent. People shouldn't be able to see that Mr. Potato Plant got you riled up at the teachers meeting because they asking all of those questions where you wondering if you need to get your crayons. They should still be able to see that you are calm, cool, and collected. So you have to ask yourself, what communication habits are strengthening the trust in my school?
Yes. And what communication habits may be unintentionally damaging it?
Absolutely. And once you have done that reflection and putting your proper systems in place, now you know where that refinement has to happen. And it's a continuing process. And you'll have your people too that you can trust, that you go to even ask, well, when I went over this, how did that go over with everybody? How did you all receive that? What have you heard? And you have your trusted teacher leaders in the building that you can go and ask those questions. Was there
Yeah,
anything else you wanted to add, Tammy?
I did. Can you see the comment? I know you can't manipulate them, but can you see what Coach Dot put up?
Yes.
And I'm just wanting for a second for us to really speak to the fact, and she phrased it from the perspective of the superintendency, but what we want to make sure you leave with today is that's in any office, from classroom teacher all the way up to um, the CEO of any company. You cannot make snide remarks or condescending comments or be what some people call snarky with people and think that people are going to want to work with you and follow you, because they will not have any respect for your brand of leadership. Because what a good and effective leader does is an effective leader builds people up, not tears them down. So when you have people who speak to people directly in a way that is rude and condescending or disrespectful, because as Shika mentioned before, sometimes people come from varying perspectives, and this isn't just at the classroom level. When kids come get sent to the office for being rude or disrespectful, and as she said, somebody has stepped into their personal space, or they um indirectly insulted them by making a comment about something that triggers them, or the same thing is true of adults. You can trigger someone by coming off in a way that is at the end of the day hurtful, and what that
Mhm.
does, it absolutely destroys the culture that you're trying to build. And the reason why communication is such an important system, one of the most important systems, is because everything that you do is based around having effective communication systems in place. Everybody needs to understand where you're coming from, and not based on your interpretation of the way they need to understand it. You, as a leader, have to be sure that you're so in tune with the people that you're working with that you know that this is something that might offend Shika if I say this, because Shika has had this experience. But when you don't
Mhm.
bother to get to know people, guess what? You don't know. And sometimes with what Coach Dot has up here, and that's why I'm leaving that there for a second. Some people don't care.
That's true. They intend to cause harm. But that what Coach Dot is saying, it causes a trickle effect. So when people see that the superintendent is rude and nasty, so now you got rude and nasty principals, and now you got rude and nasty teachers, and then you got chaos in your school because all of the children are rude and nasty to each other either. So everybody's watching, everybody's listening, and the leadership are the people who set the tone for the organization. So
Absolutely.
I know in the South, we can. There are some people who think that as long as I say something with a smile, it could, it's okay. Even if you say nasty things with a smile, it does not matter. It is still rude and condescending. No matter if you put a smile with it or not, it's still going over, it's being heard the same way. So we have to treat people like we want to be treated, make sure that we're putting humanity in our work and what we're doing, and just making sure you have no idea what people are going through. And in this day and age, I don't want to be a victim of somebody coming back disgruntled. So treat people
Absolutely.
like you want to be treated.
That's the truth. And what treating people like you want to be treated also gets you is, as Sheikah said, it sets the tone for how we operate in this organization. Because the one thing that you have to remember, and this isn't just in the South, people think that fact can come through humor, and it can. And I'm not saying that it doesn't. But
Mhm.
just because you smile when you say something unkind, it makes it no less unkind.
That's
And
right.
just because you grin when you say something hurtful, it hurts no less.
Hmm.
So, as she could just said, that is not a strategy that should be used when you're communicating with people. The best strategy for having effective communication is to set up a communication system in your space that allows for the dignity and humanity of everybody, as Shika said. And you know what? That only comes through having a plan in place for what communication looks like in our system. You cannot get on to teachers when you're saying to them you don't respond to email. I emailed you Monday and it's Wednesday. I haven't heard back from you, but you don't check your email, and people have emailed you weeks out and nobody's heard a reply back. You don't respond to parent phone calls. Tell them I'm busy. You cannot do that. You have to be a person who has an effective system set up so you know and they know exactly what this looks like. In my building, parents were expected to be gotten back to within 24 hours. We're not leaving parents hanging when they have a concern, because guess what their concern is about? The most important thing they have,
Hmm. That's
their
right.
children. We have to be able to provide parents with strong and effective communication, but that starts with us being able to communicate effectively with our teachers, and that system trickling down into the classroom so that students are able also to communicate effectively in our schools.
And Principal Kafele probably said we didn't over communicated this morning. We are cutting into his time, so we
Oh,
are
we
gonna get
are.
out of
We need
his
to get
way.
there. I'm so
Yeah.
discombobulated. I don't even know what time it is. Here we go.
So
Sorry,
we
Principal
hope,
Confairland.
yeah, we hope that you all have a real amazing Saturday. Make sure that you tune in to Principal Kafele next, and Josh and Dr. Marty Moreno on Sunday, and then right back here on Super Saturday, starting off with Principal Sean Hurd at 10 a.m. Yours truly, Create and Educate at 10:30, and the Leaders Mentor and the GOAT Principal Kafele at 11. Have a great one, everyone. You'll have to end it, Tim.
Okay, y'all. Thank you.